You're listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Thank you so much for joining us for another segment. We're going to be speaking with Dr. Donna Marks. You know, America is addicted to, well, being addicted. And during the pandemic, COVID has accelerated the addictive mindset. And Dr. Donna Marks is joining us here to talk about addiction, how to beat it, and her breakthrough book, Exit the Maze. She's going to talk about her approach to treating addiction. Welcome to Health Professional Radio, Dr. Marks. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on your show. I'm very excited.
Give our listeners a brief look into your area of expertise and what it is that you love about what you do.
Well, I love what I'm doing because I know it's what I'm here to do. I've had a lifetime of experience with addiction, personally and professionally, born into it, family members, my own recovery. And I've been practicing in the field of mental health and addictions for the past 32 years. And so I've discovered over the years what works and what doesn't work in helping people. And out of that came my book, Exit the Maze, One Addiction, One Cause, and One Cure. And my mission is to save 1 million lives in the next 10 years. It is the number one killer on the planet.
You know, we hear a lot about the number one killers, you know, this disease, that disease, but it would seem that addiction is the biggest disease. I mean, when I think of addiction, I think of alcohol, drugs, gambling, smoking, sex addiction, eating. Is addiction not what we think it is?
Well, it's anything that a person continues to do despite negative consequences. So in other words, if you did something and a couple of times something bad happened, and you continue to do it, why would you do that unless you're addicted? So the problem is that underneath all these health conditions, including COVID, many of these health conditions, the number one killer being heart disease, followed by cancer, and then we have liver and diabetes, and of course COVID is very serious. But underneath all that, people unknowingly have become addicted, especially to sugar, trans fats, nicotine, drugs, and pills, and those things have depleted the organs to the point that they can't function at maximum level, nor can the immune system when it's under attack. So, you know, when you do something to the point that you damage your heart, lungs, liver, digestive tract, and so on and so forth, and it doesn't just have to be from substances. Those are the main causes of the health issues, but then, you know, you have the whole mental health component, and that's where you get into these other, you know, the opiates and the gambling, sex addiction, shopping, It's just never ending, even this need to get what you want the minute you want it. You know, we're of that mindset now, and now video games are the new child care techniques, creating robotic-like children. So it's a very serious problem, mental health and physical. And I'm not here to condemn anybody or to blame anybody. It's happened. You know, if I were making a product, I'd want to make it so that, you know, it tasted extra sweet or alcohol gave it extra, you know, high, or whatever, you know. But what's happened is, you know, we're understanding how the brain works, and then you take that with the emotional component, that there's this void that most of us feel, you know, something's missing, because we've replaced all these things with human interaction, loving one another, caring for one another, spending time together, and intimacy. I say every addiction.
I heard you mention sugar. And of course, sugar, in my mind, that goes along with food. So if a negative consequence is the key to an addiction, what about negative consequences that we're not aware of? You mentioned sugar, of course, damaging the organs. Most people don't understand how addictive sugar is or how it damages the organs until something happens. A person is still addicted even if they aren't aware of negative consequences. I mean, it's not a DUI, it's not an overdose, and it's not getting caught by your wife in an affair.
Right. Well, that's the problem. They don't realize they're addicted until they get a diagnosis. They're not getting a diagnosis. You have a heart attack, you have arteriosclerosis, which is hardening of the arteries, which is primarily, there are some genetic components, but it's primarily due to diet and sugar and unhealthy fats. And so the doctor doesn't explore that generally. They give you pills to treat the symptoms. And the same thing happens in mental health. You know, you give them pills to treat the symptoms, and the underlying issues are never addressed. So that's, you get you're bordering on being a diabetic, or, your liver's not working right, but why isn't your liver working right? Why are you bordering on being, they'll say, well, you need to improve your diet, but unless we understand that we're not going to improve our diet because we're addicted to something, we'll improve it, but we won't give up the thing that we like best. So it's something that really we need to get our minds back. That's I'm helping people to understand how their mind works and how to get it back.
So how do we combat addiction when we've been basically programmed to look at addiction in a certain way in certain people, to look at certain behaviors as addictive as opposed to the underlying causes?
Well, I think through awareness, it's true. We do have an image, the person with a needle in their arm, or, lying down in the gutter, with a brown bag, or staggering around, or, we can all say, oh, I know that guy. He really is a heavy drinker. He's got a problem. But, that just kind of feeds the whole denial system of what am I doing? And so to really help people to take an honest look at their behaviors, and not to blame or judge or feel guilty, because that's just going to take you deeper into the maze. I say there's just one addiction, and it's that empty feeling inside. It's that pain that we're trying to cover up. So, it's a distraction, more M&Ms, more porn, more videos, more work, more money, more power. So it's a distraction from facing that underlying cause, which is the void or the pain, and that needs to be addressed through therapy. And I have exercises in my book that help people to look at that. And then, since every addiction is a substitute for self-love, to replace those behaviors with actual healthy behaviors. And that doesn't mean, going on a diet and running 26 miles in a marathon. Those can be side activities, but those can also, I call it the game of whack-a-mole. You could just substitute one addiction for another, and exercise is on the list. But to actually take each behavior that you're doing and replace it with, what are you trying to actually get from that? You're trying to get a feeling. From whatever addiction a person is engaging in, they're trying to get a feeling. The brain is getting a hit, a dopamine. And there's healthy ways to get good feelings that don't have a negative consequence and have lasting effects. And on my website, I have 101 plus ways of self-love, which are some suggestions to replacing the addicted mindset with a loving mindset. And it's very effective when people start using it. I work with a lot of executives and C-suite population, and I was recently on a podcast who's like, woo-woo, I'm going to love myself. What does that mean? But it's true. We don't know what it means, and we have to learn how to do that, as if we're taking care of ourselves, as if we're children.
Does your book, Exit the Maze, describe some steps to learning what that empty feeling is that you're trying to fill, and how to love yourself above and beyond just replacing the addictive activity with something positive?
Right. So the first thing is to understand that there's just the one addiction, and that's that emptiness inside, that feeling that something's missing or that something's wrong. And then the second step is to delve into the cause, which is going right into the pain, right into the void, exploring it, understanding how it formed, what caused it, and how to address that unresolved conflicts and pain and suffering, or it could just be like, not knowing how to live and love. And so to really address that, and to mourn losses, to grieve, allow the feelings to be faced and released. We tend to not want to do that. We're a society of stoicism, and people stiff up our lip and onward and upward, and so we have to. The pain doesn't go away. It just keeps drilling down and making the void deeper and deeper. So when we face it, it heals, and then we learn how to love ourselves. When I'm working with people, I teach them that, and then they just kind of like, I don't even think about the addictions anymore. Like, why would I do that? Why did I ever do it?
Do you think that we have to hit a collective rock bottom in order to kind of wake up? I mean, with many people, that rock bottom is what finally propels them into a life of non-addiction, non-addictive behavior. But this is much more than individual people. This is a collective type of denial, if you will.
Yes. We don't have to hit rock bottom. My method is through inspiration, not pain. Mm-hmm. So, I work with people who say, something's not right in my life, or I'm sick of doing this, or, they haven't necessarily hit rock bottom, or sometimes they'll come in for something totally unrelated. They're just not achieving their goals. And the reason they're not is there's an underlying addiction and spending so much time on and draining their energy and things like that. So no, we don't have to hit rock bottom. We can be inspired as a planet to be better and to recognize what's happened to us, that we have become addicted in our mind, and then we follow through with our actions. Buy this, get this, do this, be this. You're not okay just the way you are. And that starts with how we raise our children. So we definitely don't have to hit rock bottom. What I want to have, raise high up, to the consciousness of I'm here to enjoy myself. I'm not here to suffer. I'm here to live and love and play and laugh. And I do that every day. I've had a great deal of suffering in my life. Once I understood these key components, I don't do it anymore. And I go to work every day happy. I go to sleep at night peaceful. And I have a very meaningful and beautiful and productive and gifted life because of that consciousness, that I don't have to suffer and I don't have to hit rock bottom.
I heard you mention your website in our conversation. Give our listeners that website where we can learn more and possibly get copies of your book, Exit the Maze, as well.
Oh, thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure speaking with you. My website, if you just enter Dr. Donna Marks, it will come right up. And I have a registration on there. There's lots of free offers, several really good meditations. I write a weekly blog. Those are all available there. And then I also teach A Course in Miracles once a week that's free. We do have a Zoom meeting. So there's lots of resources available for people who are interested in exiting the maze, which is available on Amazon.com and can also be purchased on my website. Right. It's available in paperback and audio.
I greatly appreciate you joining us here and giving us this information. It's been a great discussion, and I'm hoping to speak with you again.
It's been great. Thank you.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Dr. Donna Marks. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download at SoundCloud, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.